Okay, so we're now at a point where we have our masks and they've started to develop over a few different layers, so they've really become quite strong now. And what we want to look at next is trying to put some details in these. So how do we start? Well, let's say for example that I want to build up some horns that come off the mask. Well, first what I might do is I might draw this design and see how it's going to play out, figure out what size these need to be roughly. And then from there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some thicker cardstock paper and I'm going to draw those designs on there. Next, I'm going to cut them out. Okay, got my horns, got my mask. Now what I need to try and do is try and affix these or join these onto here so that I can use the Mod-Roc over the top of them to build on top of the design that I've already got. How do we do it? Well, let's try masking tape. Okay, so I've got my mask. I've now detached it from the face mask that I had on before. What I want to try and do now is join these horns on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by adding them behind, like this in the back, and I'm going to use a little bit of masking tape to try and stick them on here so that they'll hold for just long enough for me to start putting some Mod-Roc on them to form them a little bit more tightly and strongly to the mask itself. One thing I like to do is just check and see how it looks from both the front and back before I get started. And I will usually prepare several pieces of masking tape so that whilst I'm trying to hold part of the design onto the mask, I'm not also having to try and wrestle with the tape and getting pieces off as well. Normally I would maybe stick them from both sides, so I'd get a little bit on front as well as the back, but here I actually think it seems to be holding well enough for the moment that I'm not necessarily going to do that. I'm just going to add an extra piece here for some strength. And then let's repeat it with the other side. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to cut some Mod-Roc pieces ready, and I'm just going to start by joining on the part of the horn with the bottom of the mask first, and then once that has dry and is really, really secure and strong, I'll start working my way up the horn. Okay, but the first bit I'm going to do is just try and make sure that these bits are fully and properly attached. Some things that are worth noting whilst you're doing this: the masking tape will not bond to the mask if the mask is still wet. Okay, so the stickiness of the masking tape will not work if the mask is wet. It's better if you are getting started with, say for example, quite a large design that you are adding to the mask, that you move quite slowly with this. And by that, what I mean is you build up the solid foundation first between the mask and the part that you are adding, okay? It's really important for the structural integrity when you're getting started with this, whilst the masking tape is still holding it on, that you are layering the Mod-Roc on top of one another, okay? You want it to be really, really strong when it dries, and you want it to have multiple contact points that it has bonded to, okay? So yes, you want it to stick onto the shape of the design, but you also want it to stick onto other pieces of Mod-Roc or other bits of the mask that have already dried so that it gets a really, really strong grip and it doesn't let go. It might be the case that whilst you're working on this, you actually only start off by just attaching whatever it is that you've designed onto the mask first. Then you wait for that to dry before you move any further. You'll notice at points when I put mine together that I stopped, checked how strong the mask itself was, especially the areas around where it was getting joined, and took an opportunity to add more Mod-Roc around the area to build it up to make it stronger so that I knew it would hold the design.